The leaves are falling and the temperature's dropping. That means it's time to plant garlic. I've got a wooden stake and a box full of garlic, but we ain't hunting vampires. We're putting garlic in the ground. It's the perfect time of the year. We're seeing cooler temperatures at night, sometimes in the high 30s and 40s, and nice 60s during the day. It is November the 6th today, and this is the weekend that we normally plant our garlic, the week after Halloween. I'll use the stake for punching the hole in the ground and measuring the depth for the garlic. We go between 4 and 6 inches here, and I have a couple of marks on my stake. I've burnt the end. Previous stakes didn't last very long because they started to rot and fall apart. So I burnt the end of this one to see if it helps it hold up better. It definitely makes my hand black that I see. And then I just carved some marks in it at the 4 and the 6 inch depth area. This comes in handy. And then in the box here, I've got garlic that we peeled from the whole bulbs down to the cloves. And this is music garlic. This is a hardneck variety that we have had great success with in the past. So we're gonna stick with something we know works really well for us. After we put our hole in the ground, we're gonna place the garlic in with the point facing upward. And I'll show you here up close the difference between the root side and the point. Now, when you're peeling the garlic out of the bulb to the cloves, if there's any that have any wounds or discoloration, sometimes mold, we set those aside and we don't plant those. Or if we do plant them, we plant them at the end, kind of in a hole all by themselves, and just see what we get out of it. Sometimes we're surprised and we'll get 1 or 2 really nice cloves out of that. But generally, if it's damaged or if it started to rot a little bit, you won't get a healthy garlic plant out of that. Another reason why we like the music garlic, and specifically the hardneck varieties, is it's the first thing that we get to harvest out of the garden, and that's the garlic scape. And on the hardneck variety, the scape is the blossom end, and it'll come up as a stalk, it'll do a little curlicue, and it'll start to put a little flower pod on the end. And right when it makes that first curly, we'll trim it off. And the scapes are our favorite thing to come out of the garden. We use them all summer long. They last a really long time. We make pesto, we saute them, we put them in omelets, you name it, we use scapes. I have an episode from last year where we were trimming scapes if you want to see the process of trimming the scapes and how they look when it's time to harvest those. And there's a recipe in there too on making the scape pesto. It's fantastic. When we start putting the garlic in the bed here behind me, I'm gonna do 4 rows, with the rows being 12 inches apart, and each clove about 6 inches apart. And then I'll lay the drip tape right along those rows. And to help protect the garlic over winter, we're gonna take a bunch of straw. This is the straw that was on the top of the garden. It was the top dressing, the weed cover that was in this bed. And I have some more down there. And we're gonna put a thick straw cover on the top of the garlic, at least 6 inches deep. And that will insulate the garlic from the hard winter temperatures that we'll get here at the edge of zone 6. To prepare the garden bed, I poured a good healthy amount of compost from our tumbler that came mid-season. There's another batch of compost in there right now that's ready to come out. We'll sift it and store it away for the winter time. But the mid-season batch, we still had about half a trash can full. I spread it down. And then I also had some leftover lime in a bag in the shed, and I went ahead and spread that on. It's very slow release, and the garlic for next year might not even benefit for it. Lime is one of those things that takes maybe up to 2 seasons or more for it to really start releasing and dissolving into the soil for the plants to use. And then I use my potato fork to turn everything over. Just kind of loosen the soil and prepare it for the garlic to go in. And as you can see, we've got a nice loose soil. Garlic is one of those plants that does not like to compete with weeds at all. So that's another benefit of the straw. And then when the springtime comes around and we'll start seeing the garlic pushing through the straw layer, we'll remove the first few inches of straw carefully, leaving straw there to protect against weeds. So enough of me talking. Let me get my wooden stake and start getting some garlic in the ground. I'm starting with laying out my holes every 6 inches and 4 inches deep. I'll lay out a few and then I'll put in a few cloves. This is a really big guy. That's a big clove of garlic. And it's a good thing that I have the big stake because this is almost as round as the garlic. And I drop it down, make sure that point is up. And that's all there is to it. Garlic is rather easy to plant. I mean, it's certainly one of the largest seeds, if you consider a clove a seed. It's not the actual garlic seed, but this is a propagation from one plant to another. If you let that flower pod go, this part of the scape, it will produce seeds, but you get a very slow multi-year process from planting the seed. So I'm going to keep going down the line here and poking holes. I'll do these 2 rows that I can reach from this side as I go down. And like I said before, I'm going to put the rows, the cloves are 6 inches apart, I'm going to put each row 12 inches apart. Now I don't like to cover the garlic as I go because I can see which holes I've put garlic in already. And so I don't forget where I'm at in the process. Don't want to double stuff a hole. So I'm going to keep on moving down the line here. Same process. Press a hole, drop a clove of garlic. All right, we have all the garlic in the ground. We have 3 complete rows and most of a 4th row. I'm going to hunt around. I might find something to fill out that 4th row. Maybe I'll put in some of the ones that had a little bit of a wound, maybe a little bit of mold, and just see what happens. So now that we have them in the ground, we still have the holes. We're going to cover them. And I just take a rake and lightly go around and let those fill in loosely. Just working back and forth really lightly. I use this flag here to mark the end of my 4th row. So if I decide to put more in, I'll know where to start. So I'm not putting more soil on top. I'm just moving around what's already here to fill in those holes. And then what I like to do is just kind of use my rake and give it a little tamp down the rows. gotta help ensure we don't have any air pockets down around the bulb. Just a tamp with a rake. All right, and the next step we're gonna do is put the straw on the top of the garlic. So like I said, this is straw that was left that we used as top mulch this year in this garden bed. And it goes in super heavy. Like I said, at least 6 inches. Depending on your climate, if you don't have as hard of winters as we do, then it doesn't need to be quite as thick. But here in Missouri, we like at least 6 inches. And I have another fence panel I'm going to put along here just to help hold the straw in through the winter with winds and all those things. You don't have to use straw. We've used leaves in the past. Most of us have plenty of leaves. This time of year, we sure do. But since I already had this straw, figured this was a good reuse. I don't have anything else to do with this straw. It's a little too much to try to turn into the soil. But as the straw breaks down, it's a great addition to the soil. So there are some leaves mixed in here, and that is 100% okay. I do recommend if you're going to use straw for any reason in the garden, whether it's as top mulch or cover for your garlic, search for a good quality straw. And what does that mean? Well, some straw, and we had some in the garden this year, this is some of it actually, we got a lot of seeds in it. So we had a lot of straw wheat that was growing from the seeds that was in the straw. We've purchased straw in the past from the Blue big box store, and it was great. It was fantastic. It was really tightly baled and had no seeds in it at all. I know that that's good quality, but look at it before you buy it. Try to see if you can break it open a little bit. Look on the ground around where they have it stored. And if you see a bunch of seeds, maybe steer away from it. Or you're going to be bringing weeds into the garden. This is broken down enough that we're not going to see any more growth out of this. So what I'm going to do now, this is just the first half. I have more straw over there from one of the other beds. I'm going to start hauling it over and filling in. All right, I have all the straw in. And this is a really fantastic reuse of this straw. I left a bit open over there where there's nothing planted, but could be soon. I have plenty of straw. I have the whole back bed and 2 more of the fingers here that have straw in the top mulch. A couple of things that I thought about while putting the straw down was picking where to plant garlic. And kind of the rule of thumb is don't plant garlic or onions in the same location 2 years in a row. So this year we did not have garlic here, but the year prior we did. So it's been 2 whole seasons before putting garlic in this space. Last year we had garlic at the annex. Didn't really get the production there that we were expecting, so we're going to try back here at home again. If you have a small garden space like we have, then it's hard to rotate a crop like garlic because you start it in the winter. So put some forward thought into that of where you're going to plant your spring garden and your fall garden, because this won't get harvested until about June. Here it is November, a June harvest. Usually right around Father's Day for us is when garlic is harvested. For onions, I've planted onions in the same location for the past 3 seasons and I haven't had any issues. The reasoning is for spreading disease that only affects onions and garlic. So take that advice take that advice however you want. I try to rotate garlic. I don't really with onions. If you learned something from this episode and you liked it, click that like button. Let us know how we're doing. If you want to see our next episodes coming out, make sure to subscribe and hit that reminder bell to make sure you get a notification whenever something new comes out. Still coming for this fall and winter's episodes is going to be making tomato sauce. We have a bunch of tomatoes frozen just for the purpose of making tomato sauce. Our horseradish is almost ready to harvest. We've had 1 hard freeze and we're waiting for our 2nd hard frost. That's the advice that I've received for harvesting horseradish from my uncle who gave it to me. So we're waiting for that next hard frost. I'm hoping it'll come this week. Thanks for watching. And come on back next time as we keep on working toward a better Terra, one vampire defense at a time.